Welcome back, dual-sided UFC 262 between Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira versus Iron Michael Chandler. You know, Charles Oliveira comes in favored by not that much. Would you agree?
It's pretty even match, but it's still favored at minus 130.
And Michael Chandler's sitting at plus 110, and this is all based on the UFC website, so it's going to be subject to change at any point. But UFC 262 will be, take place this weekend, Saturday, May 15th. And this fight in particular is to decide who the next lightweight champion is. The last one, which was, Khabib. Isn't it fair to say that he dominated that division?
Khabib, what was the last fight, Khabib?
The last Khabib fight was the Justin Gaethje one.
Yeah.
I mean, he's ended his career 29-0, undefeated. So obviously Dana White wanted him to come back, try to talk to him. But I mean,
but honestly, what would he wanted him back to keep fighting lightweight or move him up?
No, lightweight. I don't think that Dana would risk Khabib at welterweight because there's actually legit contenders that I think that like Usman. I think that's a problem for Khabib. Both fighters are coming off dominating wins. Oliveira, obviously, we just saw him back in December dominate Tony Ferguson, winning unanimous decision. And then obviously Chandler, how can we forget that knockout, earlier this year in January versus Dan Hooker on the same card as, Dustin versus Conor, 259.
And he knocked him out, I believe, huh?
Yeah, first round. I mean, Dan Hooker didn't look like he was, he was even engaged. It was
TKO.
Yeah, I mean, either way, he was figuring him out. Obviously, that was Chandler's debut. So, I mean, there's really not a lot of film on this guy coming in, so you can't really blame Hooker. But, this is a different animal. You're going up against Charles Oliveira, who's on a 8-fight win streak. He hasn't lost in 8 fights. Like, his last fight that he lost was against Paul Felder, and that was back in 2017 of December. But
UFC 218, Holloway versus Aldo, the second one.
Yep, and obviously Oliveira, if you didn't know, he's tied for the most finishes in UFC history. Obviously, it's safe to say that he's going to pass that. He's tied with Cowboy Cerrone, who at 16 finishes in the UFC, and he also holds the most submission wins with 14 in the UFC. So I mean, this guy's in the history books. This is only his second fight. This is a tough fight. A lot of people are saying that Oliveira, it's a tough fight for him. I mean, it's a tough fight for both of them. It's pretty even match, like the odds say. But even Chandler, he's on a 3-fight win streak. Although again, this is only his second in the UFC. His last loss in his professional career came in May of 2019. And, obviously Oliveira's last loss, I just stated, was back in 2017, December, against Paul Felder.
Yeah, but Chandler's was in Bellator.
Yeah, Bellator. So that's where he became champion in Bellator. And I think if he were to win on Saturday, this would be the second time a fighter from Bellator that came to the UFC won a title, which the first one was obviously Eddie Alvarez. And we all know how that ended with Conor coming out on top. But, Oliveira started his, career in the UFC slowly from 2010, where he made his debut. So over a decade ago, like almost 11 years to the day, to 2017. So from 2010 to 2017, he was 10 for 8. Some of those fights were at, I believe, featherweight, so at 145. And then obviously the weight cut was affecting him too much, so he decided to just fight at 155. And I mean, from 2018 to now, he's 8-0. So I mean, he's definitely red hot coming into this fight. Red hot. He started his career at the UFC at 20 years old. Now he's 31. So I mean, is it safe to say he's just entering his prime at 31, or would you say?
No, really.
31. I think. 8-fight win streak. He's coming off.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wait. Oliveira. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, not Chandler's.
Chandler's too serious. He has to play more. He has to fight more in the UFC.
I say even for Chandler, he's right in the middle of his prime. I don't think there's any room for growth. But who knows? I mean, he stated that before retiring, he wants to become a UFC champion, and he has a chance after one fight. And a lot of people say that he doesn't deserve it. What do you feel?
Who?
Chandler, about this opportunity to fight that lightweight champion after just one fight. I mean, Dustin even said, I've been putting in the work just for this guy to something along the lines of he's only fought here once.
Yeah.
You agree? You don't think he deserves as much?
It's probably a little early, but if he shows up, it's gonna shut everyone up. But if he doesn't, it's probably not. He's probably not gonna have another opportunity.
Yeah, on the other hand, Oliveira's been at this, since 2010. So I mean, you can't say this guy doesn't deserve it. I mean, both guys deserve it in my opinion. But Oliveira physically, he has a 2.5 reach, inch advantage, and so it's not really going to be an issue. It's not going to be an issue for Chandler because Dan Hooker's was a 3.5 inch reach differential. So I mean, Oliveira is only 2.5. So I mean, Chandler doesn't. I don't think that matters to Chandler. But on UFC Countdown, Charles Oliveira gave his predictions of the fight, stating, "I think this guy will be knocked out in the first round." Saying that he thinks he's gonna knock out Michael Chandler in the first round. Which, I mean, how likely? What's the percentage you give that of happening?
Knocking out? Charles isn't known for his.
No, not at all. I mean, he has some knockouts in his career, but in the UFC. But I mean,
he's known for his ground game more.
Way more. But at the same time, Chandler has been knocked out 3 times in his career. I think his last loss was 2019, like I stated, was a knockout. But so this guy's confident. Oliveira, even in the video, he just seemed like he was very confident. Obviously,
if you look at his history, his last knockout in the first round came against Jared Gordon at UFC's 164, and that was 2019.
Oliveira? So, I mean...
Yeah, and most of them are just chokeouts and stuff.
So that's the ground game, obviously.
And speaking to the Chandler, he came out in an interview with Khabib. He said, I trained a lot of jiu-jitsu because Charles is very good. Probably the scariest opponent I have ever faced in my whole career. The former Bellator title holder recently told Khabib.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously Chandler's known for his, knockout power, and his wrestling. So I mean, he's gonna be fine in the ground game. But I mean, I think jiu-jitsu is a different, because Tony Ferguson was, he wrestled in his early, I think, high school, and so he was a good wrestler. He was a known wrestler too. So I mean, obviously Chandler's,
and even today, if you hear the name Tony Ferguson, you don't think of him as a wrestler, huh? He's more like
he's just crazy all around. But that's for a different time. But I mean, the whole point of that was just Tony Ferguson's a legit like he can wrestle. Chandler, he definitely can wrestle. So I mean, if I'm Oliveira, it's gonna be tough to submit Chandler, but I mean, at the same time, Chandler has never been submitted. I mean, he's 22-5. None of those losses came to submit. He's never been submitted. So I mean, that's gonna be hard to believe. But I feel like that could change, because obviously you're dealing with a black belt in jiu-jitsu and Charles Oliveira. Even when he held. You saw the Tony Ferguson when he held his arm, he tried to break his arm.
Yeah. And
he hyperextended it. I mean, that's Tony Ferguson. Obviously, he wouldn't quit, but, Chandler's going to have his work cut out for him, and as well as Oliveira. So, Chandler has only been knocked out 3 times in his career. Oliveira has been knocked out 4 times and submitted 3 times in his professional career. So, I mean, Chandler can easily submit Oliveira, so we can't...
You got to take into account the differences between the Bellator and UFC, huh?
Yeah, for sure. The Bellator is just a different. Not to throw shade at them, but
if you equate that to like NBA's UFC, what is the Bellator? G League?
Not G League, but like overseas. Some Europe, overseas. But not to throw shade at them, but it's different at UFC. But I mean, Chandler's he started his debut, came off he started. What other, what better way? He did show up. On the ground game, obviously, Oliveira's the most dangerous, but a lot of people, don't realize that he's well skilled all around, ground and striking. He likes to throw those kicks, even with Kevin Lee, he threw those kicks at Kevin Lee as he was trying to approach Oliveira. And, even when Lee went for the takedown, that's where Oliveira got him in a guillotine, I think. And that's what, also obviously submitted Kevin Lee. So, I mean, Chandler's got to be careful of that, going for the takedown, against Oliveira, because Oliveira could counter that with, some type of move, and he could easily submit him. So if I'm Chandler, what would you suggest him just to strike?
Stay on the ground.
Yeah, stay on his feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay on his feet, strike with Oliveira. That's the best chance I give Chandler. Staying on his feet. And for Oliveira, obviously if I'm him, I want to get him to the ground, Chandler, but I'm also aware of his, wrestling knowledge, so he's got to keep that in mind. But the striking, it's safe to say, Chandler it's the better striker.
Yeah, sure.
And he's definitely got the knockout power. I don't know about Oliveira, but as a lightweight, Chandler has a crazy knockout power. So to conclude this, we're gonna give our predictions. I feel like I think it's gonna be Oliveira by submission at some point, maybe after the first round. I think Chandler is gonna be submitted for the first time in his career. What do you feel?
I think Oliveira submission after the third round.
After third round, okay. So both of us predict Chandler to be submitted for the first time in his career. Obviously, it's tough. This isn't clear. It was tough to make that decision, but I mean it's going to be a great fight ultimately, and I don't think you think it's going to go the full length to decision?
Sure, and all it takes is Chandler easily could. All it takes is just one land.
One shot. Yeah, that could end the fight, but regardless, it's not going to end in a decision. That's 100%. Like, there's no way. But it's going to be a great fight. UFC 262 in Houston, May 15th, this Saturday. And thanks for watching. We're gonna keep you guys updated if anything changes, if any pullouts. Hopefully nothing. No one pulls out. So once again, this is at DUALSIGHTED. Follow us down below: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and thanks for watching. Peace.